Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. How is your coloring coming along? This has been such a fun page to color, and I'm really looking forward to coloring up the berries, finally. Today is the last day working on this page. I'm really interested in learning how yours is coming along. I'm still working the fall colors with a small transition back into winter with today's video. My pencils are sharpened and I'm ready to get going. Come along and join me and let's color this in together. I'm jumping right into the berry. I've been looking forward to hitting this section for a while now. I was torn whether to work it up as a raspberry or a blackberry, but the blackberry won. I began with a base layer of mauve, lightly working it over all the berries. I want every part of the berry covered, but not too dark. This will be my highlight color, even as dark as it is. I'm coming in with the dark indigo next. I'm coloring most of the circle that makes up the individual part of the berry. If you watch closely, I'm leaving a small uncolored crescent of the mauve visible along the right side of each circle. This will represent the highlight, allowing the lighter mauve to show through. Now I'm coming in with the black and doing the same thing. I'm darkening up just a crescent along the left side of the circle, leaving both the mauve and dark indigo visible, creating a gradient of shadow around the circle of the berry. I'll also go in and make the shadow a little darker in the crevices between circles. Once I have that in place where I like it, I'm going to come back in with the dark indigo and blend the black into the dark indigo, then add more black to further darken up the deepest shadows. And now I have 3 delicious looking blackberries. For the leafy cap, I put down a base layer of the deep cobalt green, followed by a shadow on the left side and along the bottom of the leaf section with the chrome oxide green. I blended the two colors together with the green gold to add in an autumn touch to the leaf color. I came in with more chrome oxide to deepen the shadows along the base and left side as they weren't dark enough. The stem I worked up with a light layer of the walnut brown. I wanted something between brown and green. After the brown layer, I put the deep cobalt green on top to try to get the effect I wanted. I blended both the colors together with the green gold to not only lighten up the brown and green a little, but to also bring in more gold for fall and tie things together better. The color palette changes here as I work up the remaining leaves, including the berry leaves. I am putting down a light layer of the deep red over the whole leaf. At the base of the leaf, I put in a light layer of the olive green yellowish. I'm trying to capture a leaf mid-change, where the tip is more red than the bottom of the leaf. I put down a layer of terracotta over the whole leaf. More layers are needed here. I added more red to the tips and sides of the leaves. At the bottom of the leaf, I'm blending everything together with some burnt ochre. I use more terracotta to smooth the red tip out into the brown gold bottom of the leaf. Now to the refining. I want the red to stand out a little more, so I am darkening the tip of the leaf more. I give the stem a quick little touch-up with the deep cobalt green as I noticed I missed a few spots. Then some more blending of the red with more terracotta to bring the leaf together. The next two leaves look the same as the berry leaves, so I wanted to color them up similarly but not exactly the same. I am continuing the progression of fall, so I am going to make them more red with hardly any green. I'll begin with a base layer of the dark red for our uniform jumping off point. To tone down the red a little, I'm adding in a layer of terracotta over top. I realized here I forgot the undercurl of the leaf, so I'm hitting that with the dark red as well. I add in a shadow with the chrome oxide green just at the top of the curl and add more red to blend it out. I'm coming in with the burnt ochre along the edge of the leaf to give it a brown, drying out appearance. And for the second leaf further up, I forgot to give it a layer with the terracotta, so I'm adding in the layer right now. Both leaves don't have to be exact, but I am working them up together. With most of my colors in place, I'm going to come in and begin working to layer up the colors and blend them where they are. I want the center to be darker, so I'm blending in more red there, followed by more blending with the terracotta and another layer of burnt ochre along the edges of the leaves. I hit the leaf with a final blend of the green gold to smooth everything out and blend it. This next group of leaves, I wanted to work them up in more of a yellow color palette. I began with the green gold for the base layer, covering all three leaves. There is a fourth leaf hiding under the red leaf, but I didn't notice it right away. I worked up the stem in the chrome green opaque as well as the grass. I blended out the grass with the burnt ochre as I wanted that yellowed winter look grass tends to get. I came in with a dark green for the base of the blades to give it a little hint of a shadow. I then come in with the chrome green opaque to add in some green near the center rib. I came in light and feathered out the color along the edges. I blended that in with the green gold and added in a layer of the terracotta along the edges for more orange. Another layer with the green gold and the little leaf poking out is done. Now I can go through and apply the same layers to the remaining leaves. I added more green gold to the other leaves, followed by the terracotta at the edges. For the bigger leaf, I felt it would have a larger color change, so I added a bit of the dark red to the edge as well. Then blended the leaves with the green gold. This green gold is a great starting point for fall leaves. I touched up the center of the leaves with a little more of the chrome green opaque to bring the color back into the layers. I'm treating the branch with leaves the same way I did the berry branch, as they look the same right down to the small thorns on the branch. I began the branch with the chrome green opaque, then darkened it up with the walnut brown. I blended the colors together with the green gold. Since I had the walnut brown out, I also added a layer to the trunk and branches of the tree. I used the dark sepia on the left side of the trunk to add in a shadow and fill in the hole in the trunk. Jumping back to the berry leaves, I gave them a layer of the burnt ochre, but I left the tips alone on the very top three. I decided to treat the tips as if they were covered in snow. I used the raw umber to darken up the center part of the leaves near the center rib. A little terracotta to bring in some orange, and more raw umber to define and add more layers. Once I get in a few base layers to determine what colors and where, I go in and try to finish up one leaf to figure out the final colors, then base the remaining leaves on the finished one. I touched up the tip with a little walnut brown to darken the center. Then I used the walnut brown to add in a shadow under the snow clumps on the other leaves. Using the same method I used to finish up the first leaf, I'm now going to finish off the snow-covered leaves, going back and forth with the raw umber and the terracotta until I get the leaves the way I want them. During the layering process, I also used the dark sepia to darken up the shadows under the snow clumps to make them stand out a little more. I'm so close to the end here. I'm going to jump over to the tree using the raw umber to add more layers to the trunk. I forgot to account for a shadow at the bottom of the trunk, so I added more dark sepia at the bottom for that. I layer in the raw umber and the brown ochre onto the trunk to make it brown, but not too brown. Tree trunks aren't actually brown, are they? The ones in the park I passed through seem almost a gray and covered in yellow lichen stuff. The flying leaves are covered in terracotta, and the tree will also be shades of oranges, yellows, and a bit of red. I drop in a couple of terracotta blobs. Then, with the dark red, I add in some red blobs. Since my terracotta blended in, I gave them another layer to help them stand out a little more. Because I wasn't quite sure how to tackle the tree, I jumped back to the snow. I don't have the colors in the palette, but they are the same two colors from the pine trees. I put in a base layer of cold gray too, followed by a shadow with the light phthalo blue at the base. This light phthalo blue is the same as the darker sky color. Back to the tree. I worked in some blobs with the burnt ochre, mostly covering the rest of the white spots in the foliage. Colors in place, I add more layers with all of them to darken them up a little more. I'm not being tidy or neat here. I want overlap and rough edges and even blurry edges. I blended the whole thing together with the green gold. I have just a couple more pieces left to color. I began with the background, putting in the contour line and coloring up to that. and I finally noticed the leaf peeking out from behind the other ones, so I gave it a base layer of the green gold and a touch of shadow with the chrome green oxide. I also gave the tree a blotchy layer with the chrome green oxide. My logic was that maybe not all the leaves had changed color, but I'm not sure a straight up layer would accomplish that. Doesn't matter, because it all still looks good. I changed the view so I could work up the remainder of the leaves flying away. I worked some up in the terracotta and some with the red, dark red, and blended everything with the green gold and a little burnt ochre as well. I have the grand reveal at the end, which I realized after the fact that I didn't do for the title page, so I'm hoping you enjoy this grand reveal. I really hope you've been following along. Please let me know. I'd love to know if you finished your compass and how it looks. I have my social media links below. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. Patreon has a short write-up as well as all the palettes I am using and a list of the timestamps. Basically, it's kind of like blog posts. If you have any questions or page requests, please leave them below or reach out to me on social media. I put in a list of chapter breaks in the show notes as well as a list of equipment I like to use. If you use any of the affiliate links, it really helps me out without costing you a thing. I want to thank you all so much for coming along and joining in with me on this coloring journey. I appreciate all my subscribers and look forward to more of you joining in and coloring along with me. That will only happen if you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, happy coloring.